Good morning, everyone. As chairman of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 10:06 a.m. Apologize in advance for my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but we will get through this meeting. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at Redistricting MI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, as well as Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this morning's meeting. Feel free to email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available on our website, www.michigan.gov/micrc for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the website, as well as written public comment submissions. There's also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting the website, which is once again www.michigan.gov/micrc. Members of the media who have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Executive Director of the Commission at woodse3@michigan.gov. For the public watching, for the public record and those watching, I will now turn to Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good morning, commissioners. When I call your name, please say present. If you are attending the meeting remotely, please announce during roll call that you're attending the meeting remotely, and unless your absence is due to military duty, announce your physical location by stating the county, city, township, or village, and the state from which you are attending the meeting. I will begin roll call with Commissioner Andrade.
Present, attending from Imlay Township, Michigan.
Commissioner Callahan.
Present, attending from Mexico.
Commissioner Curry. Commissioner Eid.
Good morning, Ms. Young, remotely
Good morning.
attending from Detroit, Michigan.
Commissioner Kellum.
Good morning, remotely
Good morning.
attending from Detroit.
Commissioner Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Osceola County.
Commissioner Lett.
Attending remotely from Grant Township.
Commissioner Muldoon.
Present from Carlton, Michigan.
Commissioner Orton.
Present, attending remotely from Battle Creek, Michigan.
Commissioner Zatella.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Commissioner Vallette. Commissioner Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Charlotte, Michigan.
Commissioner Weiss.
Present, attending remotely from Saginaw Township, Saginaw, Michigan.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 commissioners present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Young.
You're welcome.
We'll now turn to adopt the agenda. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view this morning's agenda on our website, www.michigan.gov/micrc. I'll now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Lang,
I would like to move to change the agenda and remove from new business items A, B, and C.
okay, we have a motion to amend the agenda to remove new business items A, B, and C. Is that correct, Ms. Lang?
Mrs. Lang, and yes, it is.
Mrs. Lang, wonderful. Sorry about that. Okay, is there a second?
Seconded.
We have a motion and a second to amend the agenda to remove new business items A, B, and C. Is there any discussion on the matter?
I do.
Go ahead, Mrs. Lang.
I think that these items is just going to open up a can of worms. We are getting close to going into dormancy. We've been through a lot the last 4 years. Let's just end this, honestly. The only thing that I can think to best describe it is, let ye without sin cast the first stone.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. Is there any other discussion on the matter?
Hi, I got on my phone. Sorry.
Welcome, Commissioner Villette. Department of State, if you could do your thing.
Yes. Welcome, Commissioner Villette. If you could share with us where you're attending the meeting from?
I'm attending remotely from Highland Township, Michigan.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thanks.
We currently have a motion on the table to amend the agenda to remove new business items A, B, and C from the agenda. And it looks like there's no further discussion, so we can go ahead and vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
Could we get a roll
Aye.
call? Could we get a roll call on this, please?
Could I also know we're eliminating 3 items?
Yes, the motion on the table is to table items A, B, and C from new business,
Not to remove them, just to table them?
to remove them.
Okay, can I ask who made that motion?
Yes, Commissioner Lang made that motion.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Commissioner Zatella requested a roll call vote on this. So the motion before the commission is to amend the agenda to remove new business items A, B, and C from the agenda. It was moved by Commissioner Lang, supported by Commissioner Wagner. I will begin in alphabetical order. If you are in support of the motion and removing those items, it would be a yes vote. If you would like those, if you are not in agreement, it would be a no vote. So Commissioner Andrade,
No.
Commissioner Callahan,
No.
Commissioner Curry has not joined, Commissioner Ede,
Yes,
Commissioner Kellum,
No.
Commissioner Lang,
Yes.
Commissioner Lett. Commissioner Lett, I did not hear you if you said something.
No.
Commissioner Muldoon.
No.
Commissioner Orton,
No.
Commissioner Zatella,
Yes.
Commissioner Villette,
No.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss.
No.
With a vote of 4 yes to 8 no, the motion does not carry.
okay. Thank you, Department of State. Are there any other motions pertaining to the agenda, commissioners? We've not had a motion to adopt it yet.
I move the agenda be adopted.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor to adopt the agenda, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 All those opposed, please raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
All right, the ayes have it and the agenda is adopted. The next item on the agenda is item 4, public comments. If there's no objection, commissioners, we'll now begin the public comment portion pertaining to agenda topics of this morning's meeting. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we will proceed. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and press *6 to unmute. I will call you by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Please note, if you're experiencing technical or audio issues, or we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we'll move on to the next person in line, then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov, and we will help you troubleshoot so you can participate in public comment during the next meeting. Today, you'll have 90 seconds to address the commission, and please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. Looks like right now we have 2 public commenters. First up being Mr. James Gallant.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Good morning, Mr. Gallant.
Good morning, James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition. These are opinions. To start out, I guess that I will now assume that this is the best that Chairman Eid can do to follow Robert's Rules of Order. You just amended something and then you didn't even make motion. You did a second. And this is the best you can do to follow Robert's rules as directed by Director of Legal Services, Mike Brady. So I believe that now the Chairman Eid is currently the #1 threat to democracy in Michigan and the United States of America, and that Anthony Eid may be a reincarnation of China's Chairman Mao. I am finishing up my petition to recall Secretary Benson for failing to fulfill her duties as the secretary without a vote at this meeting. You just did a roll call. As the Constitution clearly says, she is to take a role and establish a quorum, and she hasn't done it. She didn't do it for the reading of maps or anything. And I provided written comment to you earlier about the Colorado Redistricting Commission and the commissioner and Mr. Wood's statements that they adopted the rules of procedure of this commission verbatim. Well, the document shows that it is verbatim MICRC's rules of procedure. They just changed the cover letter, the cover page, and the document is contained and the website is there. And yeah, they didn't. I would ask you to refer this to legal counsel for review and recommendation for how we're going to get this corrected on the public record. And I believe that a formal apology to the entire state of Michigan is in order.
Thank you, Mr. Gallant. You know, my mom immigrated to this country from a oppressive dictatorship. So comparing me to a dictator, I do take some offense to that. So I'd appreciate if you don't do that in the future. It would be very nice. But you have a lot to say about me, and I do appreciate your comments. Department of State, could you recall who the second was for each of those motions we had earlier? I believe for the amendment, it was Commissioner Wagner. And for adopting the agenda, it was Commissioner Weiss. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, Department of State. And thank you, Mr. Gallant. We appreciate your comments. Next up to speak is Mr. Anthony Scannell.
Hello, MICRC, joining remotely from Detroit this morning. And I don't know, I thought that was interesting about Secretary Benson. I don't know, I guess she's too busy to show up for her duties at the MICRC. It's hard work trying to throw candidates off, presidential ballots and keep some on. And I don't even know how she's coming up with these decisions, but it's pretty weird. And talk about acting like a dictator. She says, "We will come for you if the canvassers don't vote to certify." So how can you already make the vote is just a formality then? It's an automatic approval. I'm not even saying there's anything wrong with the election, but so talk about a dictator. Secretary Benson is totally out of line in this. She's MIA here. But anyway, I was happy with the way the state House and Senate turned out, but I hope there are more challenges for the congressional map. 13th congressional district's absolute garbage. Living in it, it's terrible. It doesn't represent our community very well. And then I'm interested in the censure items. I kind of forget what those were about. I think I have an idea, but you know, I'd say why don't we just censure our 8 commissioners that affiliate with the politicians who are doing terrible things to our country from these 2 parties, the two politicians that are in power. 8 commissioners say you affiliate with that. I'm sorry, we gotta censure you for enabling terrible things that are happening to our country. I think you guys should have given acknowledgement to your 2 favorite public commenters. You're talking about the deceased.
Thank you, Mr. Scannell. We appreciate your comments. Commissioner Zatello?
Is the music that keeps playing supposed to be a way to signal that time is up instead of a buzzer?
I believe that is the timer being used today.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize for that, commissioners. It is done through the Zoom app, and I actually wasn't hearing any sound when the buzzer went off. So I apologize for that confusion. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah, it was a little trumpety jingle. But,
I'm so sorry.
it's all good. It's all good. Technology, am I right? Okay, that concludes public comment. Please feel free to email public comments to the commission at redistricting@michigan.gov. We appreciate everyone who offers public comment in whatever way you choose and invite you to keep sharing your thoughts. Next on the agenda is unfinished business, item 5A, Draft House and Senate Remedial Commission reports. If there's no objection, I'll now turn to Executive Director Woods to facilitate this item. Is there any objection, commissioners? Seeing none, Mr. Woods, the floor is yours. I understand there are 2 parts to this this part of business.
Right. Just want to inform the commission that we're still working on completing the commission report, especially the forward as it relates to the Senate. We've combined some things together. It's still in draft form. So just want you to be aware of that. We should have more information at our October meeting. Want to remind those who are eligible to submit descending reports that they are due on December 1st. I repeat, those who are eligible for descending reports, they are due December 1st. And then we will approve the commission report on Thursday, December 19th at our meeting. And just want to be clear that the commission does not approve the descending reports. They approve the report as a whole. The descending reports are on their own as submitted by the eligible commissioners. If there's any questions with regards to that, I can take it at this time. All right, hearing none, the second agenda item, Commissioner Ede, is additional acknowledgements, and that will be facilitated by Commissioner Janice Vallette and Commissioner Stephen Lett.
Are there any objections, commissioners, to unfinished business item A subsection 2? Seeing none, Commissioner Vallette and who else? Mr. Woods?
Commissioner Vallette and Commissioner Lett.
Commissioner Vallette and Commissioner Lett, please proceed.
Well, first, I want to make a motion that we add Commissioner Rothhorn and Commissioner Witches to our acknowledgement along with Doug Clark that you did at the last meeting. I think that every commissioner who worked on this report should be acknowledged, and I would like their names added to the final report.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Vallette, seconded by Commissioner Lett, to add former commissioners Witches and Rothorn to the acknowledgements for the commission report, in addition to what we already voted on in the past for the late Commissioner Clark. Is there any discussion on the matter? I see two hands. We'll start with Commissioner Lang.
Commissioner Lett actually had his hand up before me.
Oh, feel free to go right ahead, Commissioner Lang.
My only comment was going to be, Commissioner Villette just said for their work on it, this report is in regards to the remedial Senate maps, and they did not do any work on the remedial Senate maps. They actually did work on our initial map, so I don't understand why the acknowledgement is necessary. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying I don't understand why these acknowledgements are necessary when they were not commissioners nor here during the time when we did the work. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. We'll go to Commissioner Lett, and then Commissioner Villette, was that you signaling that you'd like to speak? So we'll go to Commissioner Lett, and Commissioner Villette, then Commissioner Orton.
Thank you, Commissioner Eid. The purpose of the acknowledgement is not to acknowledge those that work solely on the redrafting of the two maps that we had to do, but it's to acknowledge that former Commissioner, which is former Commissioner Rothorn, along with former Commissioner Clark, worked on the commission for the vast majority of time. Since we happen to be doing a update on those now, it would seem appropriate to put an acknowledgement of their work, and it wouldn't be restricted. And as you correctly point out, Commissioner Lang, they didn't do any work on this, but they did a lot of work for the commission up to that. And we certainly can put on the page that the acknowledgement is for that. And if you would like a sentence to say they didn't have any input on the update, we could put that in too, if that would help clarify it. But I think they deserve to be acknowledged in our reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. We'll move to Commissioner Villette.
I agree with Commissioner Letts. I don't think any of us can deny that these two commissioners contributed. I mean, they were on the commission for like at least three quarters of our time that we did it. They put in hours. They were at the original mapping, not the redistricting of the city of Detroit. I think that if any commissioner left for whatever reason, that I would want them to be acknowledged for their work also.
Thank you, Commissioner Villette. Commissioner Orton.
Yeah, I just see it as this final report is for the whole state, all of the maps. And even though we redrew some districts in the Detroit area, the rest of the whole state of Michigan was drawn by them. So it makes sense to put an acknowledgement of all commissioners who ever worked on the maps.
Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Is there any more discussion on this motion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of the motion, which once again is to include former commissioners Rothorn, excuse me. Once again, the motion is to include former commissioners Rothorn and Witches in the acknowledgements for the commission's remedial report. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, please raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the motion passes and is adopted. Next, we will move on to unfinished business item B, archives. If there's no objection, commissioners, I'll once again ask Executive Director Woods to facilitate this item. Is there any objection? Seeing none, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you, Commissioner Ede. As we move into dormant status, and I'll talk more about this in my report, part of the commission's responsibility is with regards to archiving the records. We're asking that you have your files, your computer files, and things organized. Our goal is to become dormant by January 31st, 2025. And so if you need boxes, I request that you alert me and let me know. At our meeting in December, during my report, I will be making a recommendation that we meet in person so that you can bring said box, said computer, and the cell phones to that meeting to turn in on the 19th of December. If you're unable to make it, you can mail that in. But just want to remind you of our archiving of materials, whether it's on your computer, whether it's paper, that we need that. And that is part of our dormant status in terms of going into dormancy. We want to start that early and not at the last minute. And so I'm putting what you have here earlier, and then I'll be doing a more complete talk about what we're doing as it relates to dormancy during my executive director's report. But just want to alert you with regards to that. As many of you have participated with the University of Michigan with regards to the oral archives, we are doing another set of recordings. Tom Ivako, as you guys know, is the lead for that. For those who were not able to participate, and he's reached out to some of you. And if you choose not to participate, obviously it's optional, not a problem. But we will be concluding that the first week in October, no later than the first week of October, for those who want to participate in this endeavor. So that's basically what's happening with regards to the archive. We'll probably have an archive meeting. I know we will have an archive meeting before we come back to the commission, but that's kind of what we're working on. This past month has really been recording the interviews. Our archive committee consists of Commissioners Elaine Andrade, Cynthia Orton, and Janice Villette. Thank you. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
I just have a question about the dormancy, more so in general than the archives. Is there anything we should know about that hasn't already been said? Any new developments, or are we on track?
So far we're on track for January 31st. And I'll have more, Commissioner Ede, during the executive director report. I just wanted to show the link with the archives to the dormant status.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda is new business. First up is new business item A, a censure for Commissioner Weiss. I believe this was submitted by Commissioner Zatella. Is that correct? Does anyone know?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Well, you submitted a Commissioner Zatella. If there's no objection, please proceed. We also have one from Commissioner Callahan.
I object to this agenda item, and I'd like to call the question.
I haven't even had a chance to present it. How can you object to
I'd like
something?
I'd like to call the question.
Second.
Well, there is no question yet.
Yeah.
Commissioner.
There's no motion. There's a presentation on an issue. Yeah, we had an opportunity to remove from the agenda at the beginning of the meeting and you chose not to. So as a commissioner, I have a right to present on my agenda item. There isn't a motion pending right now. So there's no question to call.
Point of order, Chairman.
Commissioner Lett?
Yes, Commissioner Giselle is correct. There has to be a motion, a second, and then discussion. So until such time as there's a motion properly before the commission, there's no question to call.
That is indeed my understanding as well. So let's let Commissioner Zatella present this, and then if there's a motion after she presents it, we can go from there.
Point of order again. I believe she needs to make the motion and then have the discussion if there's a second to it.
Commissioner Zatella, do you have a motion?
I'm not even understanding the point of order he's making. Normally, when we have agenda items, we don't have a motion before people are allowed to discuss it. We just allow people to present.
Point of clarification, please.
Commissioner Lang?
In Robert's rules, it states that, if I'm not mistaken, and somebody can correct me, that you can bring forth a motion or a censure, but within your motion, you have to say what the purpose of the censure is, if I read it correctly in the past, because as we know, I've done one in the past myself. So could we get clarification on exactly what Robert's rule says about censuring? Thank you.
So I did do some research on that before today's meeting, and Robert's rules actually doesn't say too much about censuring, other than it is a normal motion that needs a majority vote. There needs to be a motion and then discussion, and then we vote. So I assume, Commissioner Zatella, your motion is to censure Commissioner Weiss. So go ahead, tell us why you think that's appropriate, and then we'll have discussion, and then we'll vote.
Well, this issue came about because I learned that from Executive Director Woods that Commissioner Lett was unhappy that I described former Commissioner Clark as a bigot and a misogynist, and that he wants to censure me for those statements. That's my understanding. And my response to that is, well, if we're going to start censuring people for speech, there's been a whole lot of speech by fellow commissioners on this commission that I think is equally questionable. And why aren't we looking at that? So this is one of those examples. This email from Mr. Weiss to Bruce Adelson, and then also Steve Lett, where he was describing voters as ill-informed, uninformed, ignorant, dumb, whiny, and an idiot, stupid, or just a moron. The first time I ever heard this phrase used was October 20th, on the date that we had our Detroit hearing, where we had that massive outpouring of individuals coming and protesting our maps of the city of Detroit. And we were standing in the lobby of what was then called the TCF Center, looking out at the people protesting who had just had a press conference about our maps. And I was surprised they were still there, and made the remark that, wow, they're still here, because they had been there earlier. And this line is exactly what Mr. Weiss said to me: ill-informed, uninformed, ignorant, dumb, whiny idiot, stupid, or just a moron. Unbeknownst to me, I was not aware that this was put into writing and then sent to our voting rights expert, who described it as perfect. However, I did subsequently hear this phrase used quite a bit to reference public commenters, particularly public commenters who are African American. And so to me, if we're going to be censuring me for giving my opinion about my experiences with Mr. Clark, something like this certainly is relevant as well, where you have commissioners referring to members of the public who are there pouring their hearts out, trying to get maps drawn that are fair, to be calling them idiots, stupid, morons, and then to have it racially freighted by having that directed towards, from what I saw, primarily Black commenters who are making these comments. It's concerning. And then I'm just going to kind of combine things together into one thing, if that doesn't mind. The same thing can be said for Commissioner Kellum, who sent me a text during one of our meetings back in May in which she called me a racist and an insidious woman. Again, if we're going to be censuring people for speech, I certainly think this falls into the bucket of offensive speech. Now, my personal view on the matter is we have a constitutional republic for a reason. And that is so that the majority can't run over the rights of minorities, which is why we have in our Constitution things that protect freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, freedom of association. And as public officials, I think we have a special duty to protect people's rights to free speech. And this is something that I have seen repeated infringements upon as a commissioner, where there seems to be a culture on this commission of quashing dissent, whether it's coming from the public or whether it's coming from other commissioners, whatever the source is. This is a group of people, in my experience, who does not want to hear criticism and does not want to hear dissent to anything that they do. And I think that stands directly contrary to our role as public officials. I think as public officials and as state actors, we have to remind ourselves that people have the right to free speech. That includes the right to say things that you find objectionable. That includes the right for Anthony Scannell to demand that we drop an appeal or whatever the case might be that I've seen people on this commission get very upset about. And that we have to learn that giving people free speech sometimes means you have to hear things you don't personally like, and that that's okay. And that also gets directed at us as public officials. We have to be tolerant of people making negative comments about us. That is just part of the job that we signed up for. And so I think the broader issue here is, as I said, just issues with this commission having a culture that quashes dissent. And I think if you look from an organizational behavior perspective, and I have an MBA, so this stands out very clearly to me. If you look at organizations where there have been disasters or crises or some sort of malfeasance on the part of a corporation or a government, 99% of the time, you're going to find a culture that quashes dissent. You're going to see that there were people who were raising objections and they were quashed by other people. And you can find example after example after example of that. The Columbia and Challenger examples for NASA are both great examples of that. And they're studied by students in business programs for that very reason. And the one thing that I've seen is this pattern, just like we saw just now, where I was trying to speak and Commissioner Callahan wanted to remove the agenda item effectively so that I couldn't speak. And that's exactly the concern I'm talking about, is this culture of quashing dissent, whether it's pulling things off agendas that you don't want to talk about, whether it's calling the question to try to stop discussion from people who are dissenting, whether it's canceling meetings, whether it's removing items from agendas, whether it's making motions to end discussion or selectively focusing the code of conduct and procedural rules. These are all attempts by the majority to trample on the rights of minorities, either, like I said, in the public or on the commission itself. So, I think we all have the right to free speech. You may not like what other people say. Commissioner Kellum is welcome to call me a racist. I'm not a racist. I don't think anybody thinks I am. She's welcome to call me that. And I'm not gonna, try to censure her for that, because I respect that she has the right to free speech. It's just interesting to me that that license does not seem to extend to me. And in fact, I've been called all sorts of terrible things by people on this commission. I've been called I'm pretty sure I can't say the word, so I'll say witch, the B version of that word. I've been called bossy, I've been called domineering, and I've been told specifically by Commissioner Orton and Commissioner Villette that it's okay for people to say those things about me publicly because I deserve it. So if we're going to have this culture of quashing dissent and of selectively enforcing rules where one group of people can consistently slander and slur another group of people, but if the other people try to defend themselves or raise their own concerns, then suddenly that's an issue that requires censure. So long story short, I think this illustrates to me that, one, as a public official, I support people's right to free speech. I always have, even if it's things that I don't like, even if it's things that have been personally attacking me, which has often been the case. I'm not interested in censuring anybody for exercising their constitutional rights. And then I think this scenario illustrates beautifully an issue that I have spoken to the press about, and I will continue to speak to the press about, because Ohio is considering putting in place a commission just like this one. And I think that this situation and this culture of silencing, of trying to pull motions off agendas to try to stop people from speaking, it shows exactly what a fundamental flaw with this commission is that you have people who frankly aren't qualified. And when people aren't qualified to do a job, they tend to not do it well. And so that's my opinion of what I've seen happen with this commission over and over and over again. And to be very clear, that applies to me as well. I was not qualified for this position either when I was put on it. And I think as a people, especially in Ohio, as they're considering this, there needs to be consideration as to whether you want to place such an important job in the hands of people who are utterly unqualified to do it. Because from what I've seen here, we wouldn't be having these same errors and missteps if you're dealing with people who understand constitutional law and understand the rights of citizens and have some sort of government background. It's my personal opinion. And so I think it demeans this commission to be trying to censure one person or another. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Zatella. I saw Commissioner Orton's hand first, then we'll go to Commissioner Lett, then we'll go to Commissioner Lang.
Yeah, well, there's lots of things there. I'll just address two things. I do believe that, so you said free speech, everyone can have free speech. Yes, of course. From what I could see, from what you had put on the screen, Commissioner Kellum was having a conversation with you. It is whatever, it's fine to have a conversation, tell somebody to their face whatever you want. That's different than saying it in a public meeting about a person who is unable to defend themselves. Number two, in the email that you put up, it looked to me like that was just a tagline of Commissioner Weiss. It didn't say anything about that was directed to any citizens or anything. So I didn't see him attacking any citizens.
Commissioner Lett?
Where are we in the process? Do we have a motion before us that we can vote on?
Nobody, Commissioner Zatella, did you make your motion?
No, I indicated I'm not going to make a motion because even though I find the speech that was given questionable isn't quite the word I'm looking for, but perhaps improper, perhaps offensive to some people. I don't believe that we on this commission should be in the role of trying to police people's speech. And so I do have one comment on Commissioner Orton. You were standing there that day when Commissioner Weiss made that comment to me, and we specifically discussed it because I frankly was shocked by it and shocked that we were talking about the public that way. And I said, well, I don't think they're stupid. Why are we saying they are? So you were there in that context and you heard him say that. And the fact that he put it in an email message, I think just solidifies that phrase was being used. And I frankly also saw it used in other messages that came out as part of the AG case where Commissioner Ede and Commissioner Witches were going back and forth using the same phrases, saying, like Richard says, ignorant, like Richard says, whiny, whatever. So.
Commissioner Lang?
So my comments are, I can validate a lot of what Commissioner Zatella said. I've received some of the same, but that's okay because I've got thick skin and I don't care. I just want to say all of this could have been avoided. I went to our executive director and I told him when the first time around, when they wanted to do this whole thing for Mr. Clark, I went to the executive director and said, not everybody's experience with Commissioner Clark is the same. In order to not cause friction within this commission, don't bring this forward. You can't help what somebody has felt or experienced. Was it conveyed at the right time? Maybe not, probably not. But in that very meeting, when she was trying to convey in a respectful way, she was shut down. And I'm not coming to her defense just because, I mean, Lord knows I've had my issues with Commissioner Zatella in the past. All I'm saying is this whole mess could have been avoided had people taken into consideration that not everybody experiences on this commission have been the same. But it wasn't. It was pushed, and what happened. I'm not going to vote to censure anybody because quite frankly, at this point, I think it's ridiculous. But I do want to say that points that have been made, there's been things said to me by people on this commission that make me question if they're not themselves a little biased. And coming from somebody who has a family that includes Latinos, Black, Native American, Samoan, gay, lesbian, and transgender, maybe you all need to look in the mirror because I am so fed up with this. Thank you.
So I don't have any comments really on the whole censure thing we're going to do. There is no motion on that. I'll just speak to the comment about us being unqualified. I do not believe we're unqualified. We got the job done. Did we get it done perfectly? No. Did we have some road bumps? Yes. Did we have to redo a fraction of the total districts that we drew? Yes. But the result is still leaps and bounds better for the state of Michigan than what we had in the past, because now the people have the power to determine what the electorate looks like, which they didn't have before. So this idea that we're somehow unqualified to do this job, I just vehemently disagree with. It doesn't take any sort of professional degree to do this job. We see people on the free tools draw fair districts all the time. You can just go on Dave's Redistrictor and look at every day people drawing them. Sometimes these are teenagers putting in the study in order to do it. So I don't think we're unqualified. I think we've done a pretty decent, while not perfect job. But given that there's no motion on the table, I think we can move on to the next agenda item. Commissioner Weiss, I do see your hand. Do you have something to add?
I can explain the email if you'd like, or would you like me to we'll move on?
It's your call if you'd like to.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to have a little comment here. I don't recall me stating that about any particular group. I made that statement many, many months before that meeting in Detroit. All the commissioners that were at that meeting, I think majority were there, all know that comment because I have made that comment before. And the comment was designed that I stated what I said in that email, that the American voters do not pay attention. They're ill-informed, uninformed, ignorant, stupid. They do not have any reason to understand why they vote for a candidate. They vote for either because he looks like you or he's a certain party or whatever. That was my statement. That was an opinion. That's my free speech to make that comment. And I've made that comment many times. And I do recall when we were walking out, I made that comment and I got a little laugh out of a few individuals, one being Commissioner Zatella and a few others. Nothing drastic about it. So the email was generated because I was asked to send that comment to two individuals, one being Mr. Adelson and one being Mr. Lett, because of my comment about the voters not understanding what they're voting for. So if that's enough of an explanation, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Weiss. Commissioner Cullum.
Commissioner Lett had his hand up for a while before me.
Commissioner Lett.
I'll yield to Commissioner Gill.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. I guess first I'll say that this is really sad to me, sincerely. I had really no intentions of speaking today, But after listening and then after Commissioner Lang's remarks, I'm going to kind of contextualize the same thing that I've been saying all along when I've used racist, right? And I'm going to say that I am not a Black woman, Black person. I don't speak for all Black people that weaponizes the word racist. I almost never have said it. I have had the privilege of education, of religion in this country, of access. It wasn't honestly until lately and being on this commission that I have seen microaggressions and racism up close, if I was being completely honest. And this is me being in predominantly white environments, other environments, et cetera. Having white friends, since we seem to be throwing that around, who you hang around with, who encompasses your family, does not mean that you don't have behavior that is problematic. And the text messages that were shared also eliminated some of the conversation that Commissioner Zatella responded to me with. And on that day, which was May 14th, I was assisting a commissioner draw a map. And so this issue of folks interrupting when there's disagreement is exactly what prompted Commissioner Zatella on that day to interrupt me because she did not like what was being done and to verbally attack me, and then to also create a wedge between myself and Commissioner Curry, who was not present. So I'm not going to go into that. But a microaggression by definition, and this is what this is the intersection of my work, my profession, my expertise, along with sexual violence and human trafficking and working in the court systems, working with attorneys all day, is that thing that happens in a social setting that makes everyone else uncomfortable, but they don't yet know how to address. And it's often targeted at a person of color. In this case, the person of color is me. So Commissioner Zatella has repeatedly exhibited microaggressions that cause offline people to tell me to calm down, don't speak up for myself. It causes other commissioners to be very uncomfortable, and it causes me to have to advocate for myself like I am now. So in the second text message, the only racist here is you, which by definition is impossible. Black people cannot be racist. You failed Detroit in every way possible. You were absent, negligent, and incompetent, which is a coded microaggression for African Americans. I stood up for Detroit, and the maps are being redrawn in large because I spoke up. You went and cried in a corner and did nothing in caps. Stop projecting your remorse about your failures and your inadequacies on me. I'm crying because I'm angry. And what I said today was spot on. Whenever there are dust-ups in commissioner relations, it starts with you every single time. Thank you. Perfect. Because you are constantly throwing shade at everyone else on the commission. Grow up and learn to be professional. I said, that's inaccurate. I know so much about you. It's not even funny because I do know things about Commissioner Zatella that I'm not going to bring up in this meeting. She said, you know nothing about me. And I said, keep assuming so, and your text will be shared. Have a great day. Whatever. I'm not worried about anything you might say. Everyone knows it's sour grapes because you failed as a commissioner and failed Detroit. And so I'm saying this because I want the people of Detroit, fellow Black people, to hear that this is her opinion of me, a two-time chair, vice chair. And this person is also conducting themselves as a white savior for the African Americans of Detroit. I said, I've never shed a tear over you. You're pathetic and trying to regain the power you clearly don't have elsewhere. None of what you say phases me. And what's interesting is then Commissioner Zatella says, I already won. That's the part you keep missing. You are fighting a battle you've already lost. Move on. I said, like I said, don't say a word to me in these meetings. She continues and she says, I will say whatever I like because I'm not a 5-year-old and know how to behave professionally in meetings. And that's the problem. Commissioner Zatella's name is not being brought up because of specifically, what she said about Commissioner Clark. That was awful. That was heinous. It is the continued behavior. It is the continued bullying. It's the continued dragging. It is the hypocrisy that she leads with, but wants to be coddled for. And I've had enough of it, frankly. And to say that we all have this thing of free speech, that's the other problematic theme that I hear. That's a privilege. That's actually a luxury to say that you have free speech. There are people here that get punished, tortured, are put in positions like myself because of what they say. And so, quite frankly, I will continue to call folks that have racist behavior racist when I see it, because there is a theme on this commission that we become uncomfortable, and this should have come out a long time ago, but there was a concern for the maps and having them been drawing. And so now we're still dealing with this ill on the commission. We're still dealing with this problem when it could have been addressed long before. So if we're going to share text messages, if we're going to talk about people being racist, then we also have to talk about the underpinnings of it. And this is a systemic problem. So how we've been able to evade and avoid this on the commission when we're redrawing lines specifically for a Black city like the city of Detroit, it's impossible. And though it might make some of us uncomfortable, our job is to rectify some of that. That is the point of all of this. So that's all I have to say. If it makes you uncomfortable that I've called, Commissioner Lang, you don't have to tiptoe. I've called you racist as well. Your behavior has shown to be racist in the past. And Commissioner Zatella, your treatment towards me, your behavior on this commission, and your ill attempt to patch up what you actually feel bad for is also racist. And I think you could have just redrawn the maps without trying to be a white savior, but you have to do your homework. And I'm going to continue to make folks aware, not just you, whomever on the commission, to just acknowledge where you stand. And these are conversations that I've had with Commissioner Andrade. Thank you, Brittany, for helping me to understand these contexts. You don't have to be self-defensive. I think that's what makes the difference. You cause it to be personal. And so now, I've had to come out of my silence, no matter what it looks like.
Point of order, I would like to add another censure since you're calling me a racist with no factual basis to that. And please excuse me, a Black person can also be racist. So let's get that clear right now.
No,
You
you're
have sent
confused.
horrible
Absolutely
messages
can.
to myself
Guys,
and
let's-
Aaron Wagner, and I am done.
Let's
It's
bring it-
happening now.
Thank you, Commissioner Kellum. Commissioner Lang, that's not a point of order.
It is a point of order. If somebody's going to be censured for calling somebody a name, you're sitting here in an open meeting, sitting there saying, I'm racist, then bring it. Bring her.
Commissioner Lang, I understand. If you want to add a censure agenda item in the future, you're more than welcome to. I've given Commissioner Zatella the chance to put out her censure. I've given everyone that she mentioned the chance to defend themselves at this point. There's no motion on the table. We have to get back to order.
Commissioner Eid, I would like a chance to address what Commissioner Kellum just said. She had a very long soliloquy on the
Point of
I should
order,
be allowed to
point of
address.
order, point of order. This discussion has veered hugely off the topic of a censure to a specific commissioner. I would like to call a motion that we make a vote on the censures that are on the table. And we could sit here and talk and argue and go off for the rest of the day. I don't have time for that. So let's take a vote.
And again, this is the culture of silencing dissent. So
Point of order, you do
Kellum,
not have the floor.
Commissioner Kellum gets.
Commissioner Zatella, hold on. Commissioner Callahan had a point of order, and she is right. There's no motion on the table. Everyone's had a chance to speak. But we're not.
I just made a motion. Let's call the vote. I made a motion to take a vote on the censures that are on the agenda. Let's vote. Close them out. Be done with it.
There's no need for that, Commissioner Callahan, because Commissioner Zatella didn't put forward a motion. So the next thing on the agenda is a new business item C, the censure for Commissioner Zatella. Now that was put forward.
I would still again ask for the right to speak, Commissioner E. This is exactly what I'm talking about. You allow one person to spend 20 minutes defaming other people, calling them names, throwing shade at them, and then you refuse to let the other people respond. If you don't want to have these discussions, this should have never been put on the agenda in the first place, which is why it was tried to take off.
Right. Well, Commissioner Zatella, I gave you a very long time to speak your piece. I've given people the chance to speak their piece. We're gonna move on to
Point of
item.
order.
And then you allowed her to bring in 20 other things and you're saying I can't.
All right, we're gonna get back to the order of the meeting, people.
Point
There's
of
a
order,
motion
please.
on the table
I
now.
just want to say that you skipped the item. The initial item that was being talked about was new business A. It kind of veered into everything, but you just said we're going to item C, but we have not addressed item B yet. That was my point of order.
Commissioner Zatella did address item B. And she said
Oh.
she has no motions for A and B. So we're gonna move on to item C. Discussion on that, anyone can have discussion on that, but we're gonna move on to item C at this time. Commissioner Lett, I believe this item was put on by you. Is that correct? We can't hear you. Commissioner Lett, we still cannot hear you.
Commissioner Lett, you're on mute.
I move that we censure Commissioner Zatella for the comments she made at the last meeting, and if there's a second, I will speak to it.
Second.
The comments, everybody is aware that Commissioner Zatella made basically fall down into two parts. She had a long diatribe of what Commissioner Clark supposedly did leading up to her comments, basically saying that Commissioner Clark was against the maps, was against not appealing the case, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Very long, drawn out explanation. And at that time, that's fine. That's her right to say that and to look at that. Then there's a short comments by other people, and then she brings in an opprobrious statement that was scorn, criticism, deserving dishonor. It was disgraceful. It was shameful. And that's what this motion, censure motion, is for. And a censure is a strong criticism or disapproval, an official condemnation or reprimand. And that's what I'm asking that this commission do for its censure. It is of the misogynist, racist comment at the very end of what she had to say. That is the thing that is a strong criticism or disapproval of that. She has a right to talk about her view on what Doug Clark did in voting or his positions on the various aspects of the commission. I will say that she seemed to make it say that it seemed to say that his vote was the only one there, which of course is not true. All of the things that she complained about were voted in the affirmative by the commission. So he wasn't acting alone. Everybody else that voted in his way acted. So that's the motion, and that's the reason for it, is that last comment that just went a bridge too far. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. We do have a motion to censure by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Weiss. We'll now open the floor to discussion. Commissioner Zatella, I saw your hand first. Go ahead.
Thanks. So I appreciate that Mr. Lett and his dealings with Mr. Clark as a fellow white 70-something-year-old man probably didn't experience any misogyny from him. And that's his experience, but he doesn't get to mansplain to me what my experience with Mr. Clark was. I stand by my claim that Mr. Clark, in my opinion, was a misogynist. I also stand by my claim that he was a bigot. I did not call him a racist. Commissioner Lett, thank you. Called him a bigot. I stand by those comments. And then just to touch on the other point is you don't like it, and that's great. I don't really care that you don't like it. I'm allowed to have whatever opinions I want and you can't control them. And then lastly, for Commissioner Kellum, Black people can absolutely be racist. There's no doubt about that. And, you know, you love to throw the shade and we all know that. So, and I'm actually glad you shared that entire text because I stand behind every single thing I said to you in that text.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Zatella. I saw Commissioner Callahan's hand next.
Now, can I call the question?
You can.
Please.
Support.
There is a call to question from Commissioner Callahan, supported by Commissioner Lett. That requires a 2/3 vote to end discussion. Can we get a roll call vote, Department of State?
Absolutely. The motion before you is to end debate on the main motion or call the question. It was moved by Commissioner Callahan, supported by Commissioner Lett. There is no discussion on a motion to call the question. I will begin taking votes in alphabetical order. I will start with Commissioner Callahan this time.
Yes.
Commissioner Eid,
Yes.
Commissioner Kellum,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
Nope.
Commissioner Lett,
Yes.
Commissioner Muldoon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orton,
Yes.
Commissioner Zatella,
I'm sorry, could you clarify? Is this voting on a motion to end discussion? Or is this?
yes, to call the, yes.
Okay, yes, then.
Commissioner Vallette, Commissioner Vallette, you are on mute.
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
Yes.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrade.
Yes.
With a vote of 12 yes to 1 no, discussion has ended.
Okay, thank you, Department of State. We'll now take a vote on the original motion put forth by Commissioner Lett and seconded by Commissioner White to censure Commissioner Zatella. The reasoning Commissioner Lett put forth already. We get a roll call vote on that as well?
Could we get a specific motion? Because he said that conduct he had issue with was me calling Mr. Clark a misogynist and bigot. He said that was a road too far. So could we clarify that that's what I'm being censured for?
Commissioner Lett? If you could restate your motion.
Just a minute. The specific comment that Commissioner Zatella said, obviously she's familiar with it since she somewhat quoted it here today, is, yeah, I'm going to vote no, because in my opinion, he was a bigot and misogynist and did not follow the rules and does not deserve it. That's the underlying factual basis for the motion to censure.
All right, is everyone clear on that? Okay, can we get a roll call vote, please?
Absolutely. So the motion is to censure Commissioner Zatella for the comments made at the last meeting, August 15th, regarding former Commissioner Clark being a bigot and misogynist and not following the rules. This was moved by Commissioner Lett and supported by Commissioner Weiss. I will begin this time with Commissioner Eid,
Yes.
Commissioner Kellum,
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
No.
Commissioner Lett,
Yes.
Commissioner Muldoon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orton,
Yes.
Commissioner Zatella,
I do not believe I can vote on this. I would need clarification on the rules, but I don't believe I can.
You could abstain for conflict of interest, but the rules under Robert's rules do not speak to who can vote on a censure, so I would defer to the chair.
Yeah, it just said it was a regular motion. It didn't say there were a regular main motion. It did not say there were any specific rules on it. So if you'd like to vote on it, I think you can, or you can abstain.
I'm going to vote no.
Okay.
Commissioner Vallette,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
No.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrade,
Yes.
Commissioner Callahan,
Yes.
with a vote of 9 yes, 3 no, the motion is approved.
Thank you, Department of State. Okay, next on the agenda is new business item 6D, contract best practices review. If there's any, I'm sorry, if there's no objection, I will ask Executive Director Woods to facilitate this item. Is there any objection, commissioners? Seeing none, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you. We just have a brief report. At our last meeting, Commissioners Callahan, Lett, and Muldoon were selected to take a look at our contracts to see where they are. If we have any ideas for best practices. Also, as you know, we are going into dormancy phase. You know, what needs to be done with regards to our contracts to make sure that we have the information that we've needed. And so we're basically following up with those things with regards to that, and then have some recommendations that will come back later before the end of the year to come back to the commission. The contracts we're looking at in particular are the formal contracts that require that are basically more than $50,000. So that would specifically go to our litigation counsel, our local counsel, and our mapping consultant. So, and our VRA counsel. So those are the things that we're taking a look at. We'll be coming back to you with some recommendations at the next meeting. But just want to make sure that for future years, we have things tidy up and in place. So currently right now, we will be reaching out to our contractors. We've started reaching out, and we'll finish reaching out next week with regards to what we'll need as we go into dormancy per the contract. That's kind of where we are right now. If Commissioner Callahan, Muldoon, or Lett want to say anything, I'll turn it over to them.
I have nothing further.
I have nothing.
I don't have any.
Okay. Thank you, commissioners. Next is the executive director's contract, 4-month extension. Again, I'll ask Executive Director Woods to facilitate this item. Is there any objection, commissioners?
Well,
It's
I think
actually
I-
Commissioner Lett.
yeah, I have a motion that we
Okay.
extend the contract for a period of 4 months, which should get us through the end of January,
Second.
I think.
We have a motion and a second to extend Executive Director Woods' contract for 4 months.
Just so everybody's clear, it would be under the same terms as the current contract.
Would you like to speak to your motion, Commissioner Lett?
We obviously have to have somebody running the show, steering the ship, and so that's the purpose, so that we have the contract in place for the executive director.
Okay, is there any discussion on the motion, commissioners? Commissioner Lett, could you state when the current contract ends, just because I doubt everyone's going to read the actual PDF that was put out.
Edward, I think it's at the end of the month.
Excuse me, what's the question?
When does this contract terminate?
Oh, September 30th.
End of the month. I was right.
Yes.
Right. So this would be extending it essentially through January 31st or until 60 days after the commission goes dormant, whichever occurs first. Okay, thanks for the clarification.
Could we get a roll
will-
call, please?
We sure can, Commissioner Lang. Department of State, if we can get a roll call for this motion.
The motion before you is to extend the executive director's contract as it currently exists for 4 months or until, well, I guess, hang on, extend the executive director's contract as it currently exists until January 31st, 2025, or 60 days after the commission goes dormant, whichever occurs first. Is that correct?
Well, that's a correct statement. Obviously, we run past January 31st. We'll have to revisit this issue, but that's the motion.
Okay, thank you. That was moved by Commissioner Lett, supported by Commissioner Weiss. I will take roll call in alphabetical order, this time beginning with Commissioner Kellum.
Yes.
Commissioner Lang,
No.
Commissioner Lett,
Yes.
Commissioner Muldoon,
Yes.
Commissioner Orton,
Yes.
Commissioner Zatella,
No.
Commissioner Vallette,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner,
No.
Commissioner Weiss,
Yes.
Commissioner Andrade,
Yes.
Commissioner Callahan,
Yes.
Commissioner Ede,
Yes.
Commissioner, I started with Commissioner Kellum, I'm sorry. With a vote of 9 yes to 3 no, the motion carries.
Thank you, Department of State. And the just for extra clarity, the details of the contract were sent out to the commission along with the meeting materials and will be on our website. I seem to have skipped new business item 6D, 6E, August financial report. So we will go back to that at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Lang. Commissioner Ede, and thank you to the commission as a whole with regards to extending the contract. It's greatly appreciated in terms of working for the commission as a whole and the opportunity for democracy for the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission. At this time, I'm going to pull up the report for August. You will see it on the screen. If you can see it, can you please nod your head? I just want to make sure that you can see it. It's hard to increase it, but I will to the best that I can. On the website, we do not have as many expenses for August because we were not in a bunch of meetings, as you can see. But so far we have spent a total of $59,689.52 for the month of August with regards to that. In particular, we are still waiting for some outstanding bills. And I'll be talking about that more in my report, where vendors have not been submitting bills for expenses. And we'll be getting on top of that because, as you know, the end of September represents the close of the fiscal year. We have been reaching out to vendors and hopefully they will respond shortly with regards to the invoices. But this is kind of where we are year to date. Once again, I do want to share with you that the money that we owe the plaintiffs' counsel will be paid as a part of this fiscal year, as you can see right now, with the even though we do have expenses outstanding, our total expenses year to date are $4,062,980.96. And we have roughly about 2.6 million left. And so we're just waiting to see where we come in with all of our expenses. And then after that, we will look at paying plaintiffs' counsel this year. And if we can't complete it this year, it will be a part of next year's budget. And that still falls in line with the court order with regards to our 90 days to pay. If there's any questions regarding the expenses, I can take them at this time. I can share with you that the litigation counsel and the VRA counsel had no expenses for the month of August.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Is there anything we should be concerned or worried about budget-wise going forward until we get to our hibernation period, whatever we're calling it?
Dormancy? No, I think, we have, money to cover the bills. We just need the invoices to come in that are outstanding from the vendors, and we'll still be working aggressively to get those vendors to turn in their invoices.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Executive Director Woods regarding the finances? All right, seeing none, we'll now turn to new business item 6G, financial year 2025 budget approval. There's no objection, Mr. Woods. I believe you got this one as well. Is there any objection, commissioners? Seeing none, please proceed, Mr. Woods.
Thank you. This is for the 2.9 million, or close to, let's say, $3 million budget for fiscal year 25, which is 25% of the Michigan Department of State gross general fund, general purpose, is how we get that 25% of that budget. It comes up to the nearly 3 million. This is done as an annual budget, not as a 4-month budget. This is done as an annual budget. It does include the vendor service fees and taxes that we pay Abacus as it relates to the commission salary, which is at the bare minimum of 25% of the governor's salary. It includes my salary. It has travel. It has technical service. It has meeting expense, litigation counsel, just in case we get into litigation. There's no money for advertising. And then there's office supplies. And that's the total expense for it. Once again, this is an annual budget. As we all know, we're trying to go dormant for 4 months. But just in case we have a litigation expense, this is budgeted as a part of this proposed budget for fiscal year 25. If there's any questions, I can take them at this time.
Any questions for
budget?
Woods? Seeing none, we do need a motion to approve this budget, Commissioner.
I move the adoption of the budget.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Weiss to adopt the financial year 2025 agenda as presented by Executive Director Woods. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed? Please raise your
Nay.
hand and say nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Okay, commissioners, we will now move to the next item on the agenda. New business item 6H, elections for chairperson and vice chairperson. It has been 6 months, so it's time to appoint chairperson and vice chairperson. I'll entertain nominations now. Commissioner Weiss.
Yes, first of all, I'd like to acknowledge that Commissioner Curry is here.
Commissioner Curry, welcome.
Commissioner Curry, can you please tell us where you are joining remotely from?
I'm joining remotely from Detroit, Michigan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Department of State, and welcome to Commissioner Curry.
Okay, so now I would like to nominate Anthony Eid again to be chairperson.
Second.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Weiss. I think I'll accept that nomination. Commissioner Muldoon,
I was just gonna make a motion that we just keep the current vice and chair. As we only have theoretically a couple more months instead of going through back and forth.
I do think we have to do them one at a time, but you know, it's whatever the commission decides. So if that's what we decide, that's fine. If we decide to go with other people, that's totally fine too. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I don't see any. So I guess we can go ahead and vote. All those in favor of, I guess, nice. Thank you, Commissioner Lang. We'll do a roll call. The motion is to, I guess, reappoint me as chairperson for another 6 months or until we go into dormancy. I think one point I'd just like to make is, since we're looking into going into dormancy, I'm not planning, or I don't have any plans currently to leave Michigan or anything like that. So if there is the off chance we do have to be called back, I'm more than comfortable doing that. I believe there are some things in the dormancy procedure that speak to that. This might be something to keep in mind. I'm not going nowhere. Department of State.
I would just like to clarify for the record and for how we proceed. You were nominated. However, Commissioner Muldoon made a motion to retain the same chair. So would you like this handled as an election, or are we going to follow through on the motion that was made but has not yet been seconded?
Actually, chair and vice chair.
I mean, it either
So
or.
You could consider that an amendment to the main motion if you want to do it that way.
well, there does not need to be a motion for an election. There are nominations and then we take votes on that, on the individuals that are nominated. There is no currently pending motion, as there has not been a second, but he did put forth a motion to retain the same chair and vice chair as are currently appointed until dormancy. So I will let the commission proceed how they would like, but I do need a little bit of clarity on that.
I second that motion.
So I'm just not completely sure that that motion is in accordance with our rules of procedure. I'd have to check that really quick. One moment.
Your rules of procedure in section 7.0 indicate that the chair and vice chair shall hold a term for 6 months. However, the commission can vote as it pleases and motion for whatever they would like. So if you would like this to be a motion, that would be allowable under the rules. You are just extending the tenure of the chair and vice chair as Commissioner Muldoon moved. So now that there is a motion and a second, I believe a vote on that motion would be proper. And if it were to pass, that would be the will of the commission. And I don't see anything in your rules of procedure that would prevent that.
Well, I'm okay with it as long as it's within the rules. So there is a motion and a second then to extend the chairperson and the vice chairperson. We have not asked Commissioner Kellum yet if she wants to be vice chair. We should probably figure that out. Commissioner Kellum.
going to say I would like someone else to do it.
So there is a motion before the commission that you need to vote on, so you can have discussion on that motion. I think Commissioner Kellum's point can be heard in discussion, and then the commission needs to take a vote on the motion because it is now properly before the commission. So
Yes,
I hope that helps.
yes, I thought we were in discussion. So we're in discussion for the motion set forth by Commissioner Muldoon. Commissioner Kellum said she'd rather somebody else do it. So we do have to vote. So just depends how we want to go about that. Commissioner Orton?
I just wonder if it would be simpler for the motion to be retracted and start over with just vote one by one. I don't know, just an idea.
Commissioner Muldoon, the motion was yours. So if it were to, if the motion were to be retracted, it would have to come from Commissioner Muldoon. We cannot hear you. Still can't hear you, Commissioner Muldoon. I think we can hear you now. I can't tell if you're trying to say something or not.
Can you hear me now?
There you go.
Now it's working. Yeah, I can retract my motion.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Muldoon. Okay, so I've accepted a nomination for chair. Can somebody make that into a motion for us?
That does not need to be made into a motion if you're voting for an election. Are there any other nominations is what we need to know, and if not, I can proceed to a vote on the nominated parties.
All right. Are there any other nominations for chairperson? I do not see any Department of State. So now we can move to vote.
Okay, commissioners, I will go through alphabetically. Please indicate your preference for who you would like to vote for chair. This does require a majority vote of those indicating a preference. So if you do abstain, then that does not count towards what we're looking for a majority. So I will begin alphabetically with Commissioner Lang.
No.
Are you abstaining? The vote in this case would be either for Commissioner Eid to be chair or abstain.
I'm voting no to Commissioner Eid being chair.
So because this is an election, you either need to vote on a nominated party or abstain from voting altogether. It's not a
Actually,
yes or
in the
a no.
past, as we've done it, if there's only one candidate, we've been allowed to vote yes or no. I'm just saying that's how it's been done in prior meetings. If there's only one candidate, members have been able to vote no.
So I'm referencing section 4531 in Robert's rules, and I do not see that as an option. If you have no preference, it's treated as an abstention. Otherwise, you need to vote for one of the candidates.
Okay, then I vote for myself.
Commissioner Lett.
Yes.
So by yes, you mean you are voting for Commissioner Eid?
I am voting for Commissioner Eid to continue in his present position.
Thank you. Commissioner Muldoon.
Commissioner Eid.
Commissioner Orton.
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Zatella,
Commissioner Lang,
Commissioner Villette,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Wagner,
Commissioner Lang threw a name in the hat. I'll vote for Commissioner Lang.
Commissioner Weiss,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Andrade,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Callahan,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Curry,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Kellum,
Commissioner Eid.
With the 10 votes, Commissioner Eid has been reelected as chair.
thank you, commissioners. I appreciate the support, and I promise to keep trying to do the best job I can do to keep us moving forward. We'll now move on to elections for vice chair. If there are any nominations, I'll entertain them now. Commissioner Weiss,
yes, I would like to nominate Commissioner Orton, please.
second,
we have a nomination of Commissioner Orton by Commissioner Weiss, seconded by Commissioner Villette. Commissioner Orton, would you like to accept that nomination?
I can accept it, yes.
Wonderful. Are there any other nominations, commissioners? Seeing none, we can move to vote. We can get a roll call on this as well, please, Department of State.
Absolutely. So this time I'm beginning with Commissioner Lett. Please indicate who the commissioner you are voting for vice chair by name.
Commissioner Orton,
Thank you. Commissioner Muldoon,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Zatella,
Commissioner Lang, can I put your name in the hat again?
Sure.
Commissioner Lang,
Commissioner Villette,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Wagner,
Commissioner Lang,
Commissioner Weiss,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Andrade,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Callahan,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Curry,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Eid,
Commissioner Orton,
Commissioner Kellum,
Commissioner Orton.
Commissioner Lang.
So the silenced have a voice, Commissioner Zatella.
Receiving 10 votes, Commissioner Orton has been elected as vice chair.
wonderful. Congratulations, Commissioner Orton. I'd like to take a moment to thank Commissioner Kellum for her service for her second stint as vice chair, I believe, right? She really helped me a lot, learned a lot from her, especially when we were actually going through the public meetings process, when we were, trying to reconfigure the Senate map. So I appreciate you. I appreciate the help you've given me. And I hope it's a little bit of a weight off your shoulders.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that. I can advocate from the sidelines, just giving it to someone else.
Wonderful. Okay, commissioners, next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for August 15th. The minutes were sent out to us prior to today's meeting. Is there any motions pertaining to the August 15th minutes?
I move they be accepted as presented.
Second,
We have a motion by Commissioner Lett, seconded by Commissioner Weiss to adopt the minutes from August 15th. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we can move to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
aye.
aye,
Any opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have it, and the minutes are adopted. Next up on the agenda is item 8, Executive Director's Report. Executive Director Woods, do you have a report today?
I do. Thank you.
Okay, if there's no objection, I'll turn it to Mr. Woods. Commissioner Sotelo.
I just have a question when he's done.
Sure. Go ahead, Mr. Woods.
Right, are you able to see my screen? Perfect.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, just want to remind the commissioners about the computer updates as good partners with DTMB to make sure we're updating our computers and responding as I forward the emails from them, as well as the updates with regards to the VPN. So far, so good, but just want to remind you of that as we get into dormancy, that we need to have our computers updated. We want to be good partners with DTMB as well as MDOS as well. So just want to remind you with any and everything related to computer updates and getting them online, updated, whether it's a VPN, just want to make sure that we're continuing to do that. Next thing, fiscal year 24 closing, I alluded to that a little bit earlier. We do have the closing for fiscal year 24 and just trying to get all the invoices in, encouraging, working with the vendors and the reports. And so just want to make sure that that gets done. And so just wanted to remind you all of that with regards to that. I shared previously during the budget that if we can, we'll be paying the plaintiffs in this fiscal year, and whatever's left over, if there's anything left over, it will be next fiscal year. As relates to the media documentaries, we've been working with the Carter Center. They are updating that, and it's in its final stage. They want to have their own release, and so they will be inviting the commissioners to a private viewing of their documentary as relates to the redistricting. And so just want you to be on the alert out for that. I'll be sending you a Zoom link if you want to be a part of their release program with regards to that. As far as the Germany public broadcast system, basically similar to ours, they're having it. We're trying to get it in English. And so I'll be getting back with you with regards to that piece that they did. Many of you may know they came out to our last meeting at Detroit Renaissance at a public hearing in June. They were there with regards to that. Going back and doing a website review just to make sure everything is updated on our website. Be starting from December of 2023 to the present, just doing a checks and balances. We had a lot going on with regards to the court order and just want to make sure nothing is missed. I'll be taking care of that responsibility, and I should have a better update with you regards to where we are at our October meeting, just to make sure everything is there. For our commission meeting on Thursday, December 19th, I would like for us to meet in person and have a hybrid meeting. That way we can get your computers, get your cell phones if we're going dormant at that time, get your records and put them in storage. And we would meet in Lansing at the historical library. So that means for those who come in, they have handicap parking that is really accessible to the front door with regards to that. And we would meet in Lansing for those and make those arrangements. So once again, that would be a hybrid meeting, but we would encourage all the commissioners to come, but if they're unable, they would be able to join remotely as they have in the past. And once again, we're trying to collect all the materials, all your paper files, your computer, as well as your cell phones at that meeting and meet at 10 o'clock a.m. on that particular Thursday. So that's my recommendation to the commission, that would be a hybrid meeting on the 19th of December.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Zotelo, you had your hand up first.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what other dates we have for meetings in 2024.
We have this, we're following the calendar, Commissioner Zotelo, so it'll be the third Thursday of every month at 10 a.m.
So we have an October and November meeting planned.
Yes, there would be hybrid meetings. I mean, there would be remote meetings.
Is there any particular reason why we need to have those meetings? I believe we changed our rules to allow us to meet every 3 months last year. And I'm just wondering if we need to meet in October or November, or if we can just go with a December meeting.
Not sure just yet, depending on what we have. I do know with the closing of the fiscal thing, there might be a chance, but if there's, a reason for us not to have a meeting, there's a mechanism in our rules and procedure to call it off. I'm just not, don't think it'd be prudent to do so right now.
Commissioner Lang?
So you said that you would be collecting at the December 19th meeting our electronics and our files, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so does that mean that December 19th is our last meeting? You were talking about us not going dormant till the 31st. So would it be wise to hand in our electronics if we're not dormant?
so the goal is to be dormant by the 31st, and the last commission meeting would be on the 19th. So we
But
would,
you're saying being dormant by January 31st is what you said at the beginning of the meeting.
that's correct, because we'll incur bills in December for having that meeting on the 19th. If
Okay.
there's any other bills that happen in the month of December, we have to be able to pay them in January, and then I need to close out whatever requirements that I have to fulfill with the state on behalf of the commission.
Okay, so us as commissioners will be done the 19th.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions about the executive director report?
Right, I'm not finished with my report one, just so we're clear.
Okay.
But I do want to make, I can't make a motion, but I do need the commission to approve that the meeting on the 19th is a hybrid meeting, because all the meetings, and not a remote meeting. So I just need approval for that.
Are there any motions?
Meeting on December 19th.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to make the meeting on December 19th a hybrid meeting made by Commissioner Lett and seconded by Commissioner Orton. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, we will now go to vote.
Commissioner Curry, I'm sorry, Commissioner, you had her hand up.
Oh, Commissioner Curry, I did not see it. Go ahead.
I guess I didn't hear what time the meeting would start on the 19th.
10 a.m.
Okay.
Do we have a location?
Yes, the Michigan Historical Library. That was picked because the handicap parking's close, so if anyone needs it, they can go, quickly from their car. I'd like to thank I'd like to thank Yvonne Young for her work in securing the facility.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion, commissioners? Seeing none, we'll now turn to vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 All those opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have it, and the motion is adopted.
All right, thank you. Now let me go back. Just want to make sure I'm clear with regards to the dormancy that we're doing. So basically, on the meeting on December 19th, it says the commission staff shall have 30 days to complete the remaining staff and commission responsibilities. We will move that to it coincides with January 31st. That would be a motion that we do on December 31st. I've already started working and will continue to work with the Michigan Department of State as it relates to the dormancy status. So I just want to make sure that is clear. With regards to that, it says all computers and phones in the possession of commission and staff members. will be-
Executive Director Woods, pardon me, I apologize, but before you get too far into it, did you just say that that would be a motion that we make on December 31st?
19th.
Okay, but you
And that-
said December 31st,
meant
that's why
to
I'm
say-
asking.
No, I'm sorry. That would extend it to January 31st.
Okay, thank you.
Because it's not, if you do the 30-day math from on December 19th, it's going to be earlier than January 31st. So I'm sorry if I miss. Is my clear now, Commissioner Lang?
You are clear, thank you.
So once again, just so everyone knows that I'm clear with regards to that. It also requires us to turn in our phones, and so that's what will be happening on the 19th. Extension agreements have already been done with the vendors with regards to that, all the way to the next commission cycle. So that has already been taken care of. With regards to E, we'll be doing that with regards to the final funds. That will be done by January 31st. It's clear once the commission goes into dormant status that members will not receive any compensation or reimbursement of expenses, just so we're clear on that. And then G, the commission will designate one or more members of the commission. That will be something that will have to take place at the December 19th meeting as contact person or persons for the commission. The Michigan Department of State will designate a person or position within the Michigan Department of State as a contact person for MDOS, and commission members will keep MDOS apprised of any changes in their personal contact information as relates to you all being contacted with regards to anything that may arise. So that's what's in our rules and procedures, and that's how we will proceed. If there's any questions with regards to the dormant status, I can take them at this time in terms of what we'll be doing.
So I just have, do we have, I know it's in there, but the mechanism in place if the commission is called back?
Yes, we have it in place, and our attorneys will be sharing more as we get closer to it, but it's in there.
Okay,
And the commission voted it.
right, we did. Okay, you think we'll be hearing more about that in the future
Yes.
before we go into dormancy? All right, perfect.
And then the last thing I want to share with you all is just the website report, so you guys know where people are looking. August website stats at 20,000 page views, 37.8% were new resident. The focus was on the final and district maps. 30% was district maps by county. 11% were the map images. This goes to the pictures as relates to the individual districts. The people that looked at us the most in terms of where they lived or the state that they resided was Michigan, Virginia, Florida, California, and Illinois in August. And then if you look right underneath it, that's for July. It was Michigan, Virginia, Florida, Illinois, and then California. So that's where we were with regards to our website views. All right, that concludes my report, Commissioner Eid. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Next on the agenda is item 9, legal liaison report. Commissioner Lett, is there a report today?
There's really not anything to report. As Director Woods indicated, we're working to ramp up the dormancy requirements. The Baker litigation group really is not doing anything unless something should pop up from somewhere, and then we'd have to deal with it. And we're not having a lot to do with the Fink firm. So that's kind of winding down. As things come up, we're working with other outside vendors that may have records so that we get those and have that transmitted to Secretary of State for their storage. Other than that, it's moving along. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Lett. Next is MDOS updates. If there are no objections, I'll ask Megan Shar from the Department of State if she has any updates. Are there any objections, commissioners? Ms. Shar?
Just briefly, and to make sure I pay homage to Ms. Reinhardt, I want to remind everyone that we are now getting into election season, so it's the best time to start thinking of ahead and planning how you are going to vote. Make sure you are registered and choose your path. We have absentee ballots, we have early voting, and we have in-person voting on election day. You can check your registration status, the status of absentee ballots, and all of that on michigan.gov/vote. So if you need any additional information, please go there, michigan.gov/vote, to get that information.
Thank you for that information. Highly recommend everybody goes to vote. It is a right that was fought hard for us to have. Okay. Correspondence. If there were any correspondence available, they were received in advance of our meeting today, along with written public comments. Next, we have future agenda items. Are there any future agenda items, commissioners? Commissioner Lang.
Yes, for a future agenda item, since the precedent has been set, I would like to add to the future agenda the censure of Commissioner Cullum.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lang. Announcements. Are there any announcements? I'd just like to give a shout out and some recognition to everybody who helps make these meetings happen. Department of State, all of our AV vendors, a special shout out to our sign language services and translation services today, as a lot was said. So made them work a little extra, but we appreciate you. We're happy you're here and the services, and we appreciate the services you provide. Are there any other announcements? Department of State.
Just a reminder to commissioners and those watching that the next commission meeting is scheduled to take place on Thursday, October 17th, 2024 at 10 a.m. and that will be a virtual meeting.
Thank you. Mark your calendars, everyone.
Can you repeat the date again?
The next meeting is October 17th, 1-7. At 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Wonderful. As the items on the agenda are complete, the commission has no further business and a motion to adjourn is in order. Are there any motions, commissioners?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Orton, seconded by Commissioner Muldoon. All those in favor, please raise your hand and say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please raise your hand and say nay. The ayes have it. We are adjourned at 12:04 p.m. See everybody on October 17th. Bye now.